Okay guys, I'm back, and here I have spent a while now creating this for you. Now this is to help you with your ballistics when using the 5.56 by 45mm NATO, more commonly known as the bullet the M4 fires. Now I'll walk you through what this means. I set my chart at 100 yard zeroing, because that's pretty standard for the M4. You're not really going to be engaging targets that are beyond that range with iron sights due to the lack of ability to zoom in unless you've got the ACOG. Now, so what I've done is to help you with your aiming here. When you fire the round initially, it is velocity, which is the speed at which the bullet comes out of the barrel. It's 915 meters a second or 3,002 feet per second. Whichever way you want to do it, imperial or metric. I usually go with feet per second, but we'll go in meters because everyone likes metric. Now what that means is, in a single second, the second after the bullet you pull the trigger, 1 exact second later, that bullet has travelled 915 meters. Now, if you're shooting at a guy 100 meters away, I've got the estimated travel time there, it will take 0.0915 seconds for it to get there. So that is essentially just under a tenth of a second your bullet will go 100 meters. 200 meters it will take 0.183 seconds, which is nearly 0.2 of a second. To go 300 meters it will take 0.2745. if you just round that up to 275, that is just over per 0.2 and a half of a second, a quarter of a like 1/4 of a second, just over that. Then you've got to shoot 400 meters it will take 0.366 of a second to get there, which is basically a third of a second, just over. So if the guy you're shooting at is 300 meters away, watch him for a bit and work out how long it takes him how long it takes him to move. How far he moves in a quarter of a second. Just go in your head, and that's a quarter of a second. And work out where he is. Point your gun sight there, pull the trigger, and he will walk into the round. That's called leading your target, and that's basically that. But as your round is in the air, it does have velocity loss. I've noticed this because I pay attention to this kind of thing. Now what that basically means is the more time your bullet spends in the air, the slower it goes, and it will lose 27 feet or 9 meters a second per second of velocity loss. So basically if you fire and your bullet is in the air for 3 seconds, it will lose 21 meters a second of velocity loss. It will no longer be going 915 meters a second, it will be going a bit of easy. It will be going just about 894 meters a second. Also above here we have the chart as well that shows you your bullet drop. So if you just 0 to 100 meters and you would aim at a guy 200 meters away, that's how far your bullet will drop, which is about 4 inches. If you're aiming at a guy 300 yards away, your bullet will drop approximately about 13 to 14 inches. If you're aiming at a guy 400 meters away, your bullet is going to drop about 30 inches. Now I'm not going to bother with the metric. You can fucking work this out for yourself. If you're aiming at a guy 500 meters away, which is the end of the chart, your bullet is going to drop about about 50 meters. That's 50 inches. That's going to drop, which is nearly 50 inches. Basically, every one of these is a foot. There are 3 foot in a meter, so 36 is a meter here. So your bullet here drops nowhere near like 12 centimeters. It's not more, maybe more like 16 centimeters. It will drop, and here it's going to drop more like 40 something centimeters, and etc. You can work it out for yourself. And that's the 5.56. Hopefully that will help with your ballistics, and you'll actually be able to help more with where to aim. Now, part 2. The 7.62 by 54mm R Mosin round. Now this is the sniper rifle of the game so far, the Mosin Nagant. So again, its velocity is 829.7, so let's say 830 meters a second. It travels, so as I said, from pulling the trigger to 1 second later on, it has now travelled 830 meters, which means also the velocity in feet, 2,738 feet per second. So again, that's how far it will travel in feet in 1 second after pulling the trigger. Now here's what you want to know about travel time. So, because this is the sniper rifle, I've done the travel time in 200 meters because it go all the way up to its maximum effectiveness of 800. Now you can shoot further, you just need to work it out for yourself using the ballistic chart up there, because my ballistic chart does go to 1,000 meters. So, for it to go from 0 to 200 meters, it's going to take 0.16 per second, 0.166 per second. So to go 400 meters, it's going to take 0.332 of a second. To go 600 meters, it's going to take 0.498, so it's essentially half a second. And to get 800 meters, it's going to take 0.664 of a second, which is 2/3 of a second, essentially. So that's a pretty easy one to work out, really. So again, if you're shooting at a guy 600 meters away, you look at him, you work out how far he travels in half a second. Let's say he moves, runs 2 steps in half a second. If you aims 2 steps ahead of him and fire, your round will hit him, because he's gone those 2 steps, your round has travelled that, and both will him, and he will walk into the path of the round. Same again, velocity loss. It will lose 8 meters a second or 25 feet per second for every second the bullet is in the air. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Actually, I can zoom in a bit here to make your life a bit easier. We don't know how to move. There we go. Now, here, the Mosin Nagant fires a heavy round. The 7.62 round weighs nearly just about over 1.5 times as much. This is the bullet itself, the projectile. So its bullet drop is a lot heavier. Now the weapon is zeroed for 100 yards. You fire at a target 400 yards away. Your round here is going to drop 2 feet, which is 24 inches. It's a lot different. That's not as intense as when you're firing the M4. I need the M4 up to about 400 or 500 yards, because you're never going to be shooting beyond that. You just don't have the capability, and you're not going to hit anything anyway. It's so inaccurate. But that's when it gets interesting, because you notice this big drop here. Now, if I'm shooting from 100 to 600 yards, whereas I was shooting 400, it's only dropped 2 feet. It has dropped an extra 6 feet here, so now it's going to drop 8 feet. Over 200 yards, because the round is heavier and gravity affects it. This actually is true. It works in game as well as in real life. So you're shooting 600 yards, your bullet is going to drop 8 feet in the air. So 8 feet is approximately 1 1/3 times the height of a person. So you need to aim 1 1/3 times above him, and you'll hit him in the head or neck or upper body. Yeah, if you're shooting 800 yards, it's going to drop approximately 18 feet. And if you're shooting at beyond 800 yards, beyond the effective range of this rifle, realistically the effective range is only really 600, because after this your accuracy is almost ridiculous. But if you're shooting, 1,000 meters, your bullet is going to hit approximately 37 feet below your point of aim if you're 0 to 100 yards. Obviously the long range scope comes with zeroing, so that isn't much of a problem. You can compensate for that. But yeah, that's the ballistic chart. I really hope that helps you, and it'll help you to aim, help you to hit the targets you need to when they're on the move, when they're standing still. If you're unsure about, ranging, there's nothing much I can do about ranging. Ranging at the moment is basically guesswork. Because there's no mil-dot system, it is essentially a case of, if you happen to have a map of the area, work out exactly where you are, work out where that guy is on the map, in the area, look on the map has meters has a scale in the bottom corner of it, and do your estimation there, and hopefully you hit the guy right. I've been the Matrix. I hope this has really helped you guys out. Happy to do it for you. I'm so glad I'll never have to make another fucking chart in my life. I'll see you.